What's going on, family? Welcome back to another Real Talk podcast. I am your host, Rick Ortiz. And on this podcast, we keep it 100% real and look to provide some real value to your everyday life. I have here Martin Tirado. He's been on a podcast with me before, and he's going to be here very often.
Oh, yeah.
Today, we have a really, really special guest with us, Manny Diotte. And his story is just incredible. Today, we're going to talk about overcoming adversity, pivoting when you have to. And he has an incredible story to share. We're going to get to know him and dive deep into why he does what he does now, and what overall keeps him going. So, Manny, without further ado, man, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Oh, gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here. I'm fired up.
Oh, bro, we're fired up to have you, man. Martin, you know him more than I do. It's been a pleasure to just meet you, right? So kind of just walk us through, where you're from, where are you at today, kind of in a nutshell. We'll dive deep into, how you've been able to pivot and overcome adversity and all that good stuff too. But kind of just walk us through, where you're from and how you are today.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm from Spain. I was
Spain.
adopted when I was 4 years old. I still live with my biological mother, not literally live with her, but she's still
Right.
here in my life.
Right.
And my dad was stationed overseas who adopted me and came to America when I was 4 years old. And next thing you know, I got diagnosed with cancer at 7 and was given 6 months to live. So just right after we got here to America, shortly after in first grade, my nose is bleeding nonstop all the time. They can't figure out what's wrong with me. They figure out finally it's cancer, and they move us down here to San Antonio to Wolford Hall so I can get my treatment. Where I ended up going through like 2 years of chemotherapy and radiation. I've had 61 surgeries, 3 hip replacements, and spent 3.5 years of my life in the hospital. So I've been through a lot. Not all of that as a kid, because I coped through it all my life.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was in the hospital, man, I was just always helping people. Like I spent so much time in the hospital. When new kids would come in, I was the assistant to the doctors. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this is where the kids' room is. This is where the paper towels are. This is where this is.
Knew where everything was.
And I was always serving people. And little did I know later on in life, Zig Ziglar would teach me the biggest lesson, who wrote the foreword to my first book, that you could have everything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it for that reason. I was just helping the kids.
Right.
And then I just had a really great attitude, because it seemed like every weekend my parents were told, hey, Manny's not going to make it this weekend. So get your priest, your spiritual leader, whoever you need to. Manny won't be here Monday morning. And my little body kept fighting. And through the grace of God, it just kept going and going and going. And
Dang.
finally, groups started asking me to speak. Like, man, you have such a great attitude despite all these things that are happening to you
Yeah.
through the ups and downs of cancer
Yeah.
and just normal life. Can you come speak to my group? And little did I know that would end up launching my speaking career and passion of speaking and coaching people and all that. So that's kind of a
Yeah,
short.
yeah.
We'll dive deep on
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna dive
absolutely.
real deep on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this a little bit right.
And then, of course, I became the youngest realtor in the country in 1987. So in high school, I got my real estate license.
In
So
high school.
in high school, I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
I have one of the first, I think, I can't remember his number 700. I was one of the first 1,000 that San Antonio Board of Realtors. That's
Oh, wow.
That was crazy, man.
That is nuts, man.
Yeah, so I started speaking and coaching and
Yeah.
selling real estate.
Yeah.
I just really had a passion of serving people at some
Yeah.
capacity. And then, through life, doors opened, and
Mhm.
I got to share the stage with some of the greats, and then I ended up what we'll call worldly successful,
Mhm.
right, in terms of money. And then you learn later how to, and I think we'll dive deep in this, is how do you take success to significance to legacy?
Mm.
Kind of like my
Oh, I
coaching
love that.
programs. I have a coaching program called Success, right?
Yeah.
Let's just get you up there.
Yeah.
But then when you really learn about what it really takes, it's really about significance, what you're doing for others, and then leaving a legacy. What are you going to do to make the community, the world better when God decides to take you home?
Absolutely. Man, I love that. Man, that's incredible.
You got chills?
Yeah,
'Cause I
bro.
got chills.
Already
You
immediately
got chills already.
Immediately, right? We just started. That it's crazy because obviously, like I said, Martin knows you more than I do, but he has nothing but crazy great things to say about you, man. And I just want you to know that you're inspiring a lot of people. And you're just being you. You know what I mean? And that's what's crazy. So You said you're from Spain.
Yes.
Well, what brought you over here? Do you even remember?
Yeah, so I started getting my first memories at 4. My mom was single, and
Mhm.
my dad, the man she met that I call my dad, was stationed in Spain. They met. He decided to adopt me and my sister, and we came to America shortly after they got married. He
Okay.
got restationed back to Big Springs, Texas, up in the Panhandle.
Gotcha.
But my cancer was so complicated, the biggest base available to help was San Antonio.
Yeah.
So even though I wasn't born here, I got here as fast as I could. And
Yeah.
I've been here almost my
Had to.
entire life.
And that's so crazy. So I mean, overcoming adversity, man, and really learning how to pivot, right? Your story is gonna change so many lives as it is today, you know. So it's incredible that you've been able to keep that positive spirit. There's a lot of people in this world, man, that I come across and we come across daily, and they are just so down about the smallest inconveniences, and they don't know that there's stories out there like this, right? And I tell, this is what I preach to all anybody that I see going through a hard time, right? A lot of people know me as a positive guy too, and I always tell them, man, there's people out there that they're not gonna wake up tomorrow. They don't have all their limbs. They don't have the ability to go outside and breathe the air that we do, right?
Right.
And I think it's huge to think about stuff like that, because stuff like that that goes on in your life makes you appreciate life so much more, you know. So, so you run an organization, right? It's what is it called again?
So it's called the Ferrari Kid. And let me Rick, let me make a point real quick to
Yes.
what you just spoke
Yes.
about. I'm going to a funeral Thursday because we lost a furry kid 3 days ago. And I will tell you, as we are speaking and breathing and having a good time in this room, there is a parent in a hospital room praying to God right now to switch places with their child.
100%.
And we just experienced this not even 3 days ago, where I have a mother praying, and God decided to take this little angel home,
Yeah.
and we're going to bury her Thursday. So when we put things in perspective, like you're saying, yeah, just waking up. I wake up every day, I raise my hands, and if they don't hit a casket, it's a good day in my house, right?
Amen.
God gave me breath, and I got something to do.
Yeah.
So now I just got to get to it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Man, that's you hit it perfect. And Martin is the same way, you know. And there's a reason why I hang out so much with Martin, because Martin is, I feel like he's lifted me so much in this real estate market, right? Because this is what I do fully, right? This is
Right.
how I feed my family, this is how I take care of my home, this is how I do everything now. And I feel like there's points in my career where I've gotten to that point where it's like, man, like I'm just down. I start blaming everybody else. And then I talk to Martin, and Martin's like, nah, bro, just do this, you know? And I'm like, it really is that simple, you know? Like, it really is. Like,
Right.
just like you said, you raise your hands and not touching the casket. That's a win, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about your organization that you do have, Ferrari Kids,
Sure.
right? What started that, and what does it entail? I guess you could start with what do you guys do, and then you can kind of share with whoever's watching. You know, how did it start? How did you even think about doing
Can
this?
we say backwards?
You can say
We
whatever
do
you want.
epic shit for kids that are kids.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
I love
That's what we do.
love
We create memories that are over the top. We have Ferraris, and so we'll pick up kids in Ferraris. We give them shopping sprees with red carpet and paparazzi following them around. We have bodyguards that walk store to store with them, like if Justin Bieber was in the house. So like, because they are the celebrity, they are the rock star.
100%.
So we just create these over the top events. And what had happened was, when I was 18, they were going to amputate my right leg. I was getting so many infections. They're like, Manny's going to die. He beat cancer, but now he's got to deal with the aftermath of chemo and radiation.
Yeah.
And so my bones are really fragile, which is why I've had so many hip replacements. And I was getting so many infections in my leg that they're like, I think we may amputate it so an infection doesn't kill him. And Michael Jackson's doctor heard about this because I was in all these medical journals. He says, wait, I might be able to save his leg. Why don't you all fly him to Beverly Hills? Let me take a look and I'll see if I can save his leg. So we flew to Beverly Hills. I got at the, understand, I'm born in a ghetto in Spain, right? I come to America I lived on Marbach and Penn Road, right? John Jay,
Yeah.
right? So that's where, that's my hood, right?
Yeah.
I'm flying to Beverly Hills. And I walk out of the airport, and there's this beautiful red Ferrari. I didn't even know it was a Ferrari. I just said it's the most beautiful car I've seen in my life. It was Magnum PI's Ferrari. I still have the picture today of me wearing a shirt saying Beverly Hills, and there's the Ferrari. And I go up and I said, "Sir, can I take a picture in the car?" He goes, "Man, I wish I had time to give you a ride. You look like you ate a banana sideways." I was, and I never forgot that moment. And little did I know, after I did so well in real estate and so well in speaking, that I would start an organization where I put kids in the car and actually give them a ride and give them. So it was kind of this is just like how God works, right? He like dropped a seed that day, like that man made me feel incredible. And we've learned through Maya Angelou, it doesn't matter what you do for people, what you say to people, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Exactly.
And so if you forward then to 2007, I had the biggest real estate year of my life. I did 207 homes that year, did 7 figures that year.
Love that.
And then the big crash. And then I kind of went into this little funk. I was like hero to zero.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's going, and then suddenly everything crashes.
Yeah.
And the way I know how to get out of a funk or a rut when you feel sorry for yourself is to go do something for somebody else.
Exactly.
Right? So I kept talking to my friends, like, hey, one day I'm going to put kids in Ferraris and make them celebrities and just give them, an experience of a lifetime. And then I finally said, we're talking about dreaming big earlier.
Yeah.
Like, quit talking about it. Like, finally go get the cojones to go and do it. Like, go out there and actually make it happen.
Yep.
So I did. I put a business card at an Italian restaurant, Aldino's, across the street here, and said on a Ferrari, and said, "Hey, would you give a kid coping with cancer a ride?" 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from the gentleman. He says, "I'm happy to do it." I got my first Ferrari kid, was Kane Martinez. It happened to be his birthday. He wanted to have an overtop event at the movies with his family, and we created that for him.
Oh, that is
And that little one kid is now turned into 3,300 families, 12 years, and raising millions of dollars for the community to give back to kids that are suffering.
That's great.
So yeah.
Wow, God bless you, bro. That's,
Well, God bless you and Martin, and it takes a village.
Yeah.
So it's like I might be captain of the ship, but it takes all of us, through the volunteers, through the donors, whether they buy a ticket to the gala, the basketball event, poker event, or show up. Like I was telling, my 2 little ones are here with me right now. We've got one of the furry kids that just passed, Victoria.
Yeah.
Her family just said they want to give the stuffed animals and our toys to us so we can kind of bless other families. So we have a furry kid event coming up, and that's what we're going to do with those.
And
So that takes volunteers, whether they're little, big, or or in the middle. It takes us all.
yes. So when is that event happening?
So that event's August 7th.
Okay. Is it like public to everybody or?
So that's the cool thing that makes my charity a little bit different. Like, people actually get to see where the money goes.
Yeah.
Like, Martin has sponsored so many kids, so he can show up at any event and be part of that kid's experience, meet them, take
That's so
pictures,
amazing.
because the kids need to be loved on. So one of the things I learned after the furry's like the attention getter, right?
Right,
It's
right.
super cool.
Yeah.
But after that, they're still struggling. They're
Yeah.
still coping with their cancer and
Yeah,
all
it
that,
doesn't,
right?
doesn't go away.
So we have a monthly support group called the Hope Tank, where we go bowling or mini golfing or top golfing or whatever once a month. And it's like a family reunion. So, and our volunteers come out, and because what the kids need most is love.
That's it. Yeah.
They need to know they were born for greatness, that, hey, you may look different, feel different, but that doesn't mean you don't have a purpose for your life.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And our donors can be part of that experience. We have like 20 events a year just in San Antonio. So I mean, it's fun.
That's amazing, man. I think I mean, I can speak for Martin and myself as well. Like, I mean, our kids mean everything to us, So it's like, it's incredible to hear that you're doing stuff like that. Because when my son was born, it changed my entire life. So like, to hear that you're doing things like that, I just know that there's parents out there that are just like, man, like, I can't believe that this organization is doing stuff like that, and it's just incredible.
So the first time we met, then I wanted to talk about this while we were on air, because I didn't want to kind of give too much. But
Yeah.
when we originally we met, there was a loan officer's name is Michael Litwin, which was
yes.
very, very, very involved in the community. So he invited me to be one of his guests, and I had just flown in from like a training program. We were actually in Palm Springs in California. So first event, they're like, yeah, dress nice. I'm like, all right, cool. I got a suit. So I was like a sore thumb in the entire event because when you talk about people getting dressed to the nines, like everybody tuxedos, like you felt like you were at a Bruce Wayne event because it was just over the top, an amazing experience, something I never. And I remember Manny, he was speaking from the heart, and a lot of times when you hear somebody speak from the heart, you can either know want it to be yes or it's true, right? And you can tell it. When he was speaking, I cried, and then I was looking around everybody else, and like at that moment, I turned back to my wife. She was tearing up too, and it's just because the type of impact that he made and those kids, because he brought them up on stage, and he was and two, for us, it was something that was very like impactful because we always hear about just individuals doing the right thing because it's the right thing. But it was very hard to see the person behind the work, the person behind the activities. So when we went, we committed like right after that. And, even at the time, I was, probably had like 2,000, 3,000. I gave $500 that day. And just because it came from the heart, because we knew that it was going to the right place. And ever since then, it's always been like, hey, I'm your biggest fan from a distance. I don't have a Ferrari. I can't drive these kids around, but eventually we will. And that's the other thing that we inspire. We want to be a part of it. And we want to see you continue to grow. We want to make a big impact. And two, the best thing I love about it, as far as this organization, is the left hand knows what the right hand doesn't.
Always.
And he doesn't have to get like credibility, like, hey, look at me, like,
No.
watch me take care of these kids. He's doing it because it's the best thing for the kids, and it's not for anybody else. It's not for his pride. It's not for anything other than it's for the kids. And these kids are going to be taken care of, and they're going to feel like celebrities. They're going to be rock stars, and we're going to love on them until the very end. And that's the one thing I really do respect about him, because it takes a village, and to spearhead it, just to gather people. Like even at that gala, I remember like just looking around, and I think the first bit, you're like, hey, we got somebody that could donate $10,000, and then it got to the point where I remember you even walked off the stage. I remember because it was like, man, you got all these people, big players here in the city, and I felt it. I was like, man, I wish I could do more. And I wish more people knew about it. And I wish more people could actually know about the story, the impacts, what ended up leading him here to actually provide this experience for the kids.
Yeah, Mark, you've been a great fan and advocate, and we're so grateful. But, we all, what I always tell people, it's time, treasure, talent, or connection, right? It takes us all. So I think, excuse me, on my birthday, I think I lost my
It's all good.
So I would say time, treasure, talent, connections.
Okay.
So if you do magic, like I do magic. So one of the things that I did when I was in the hospital all the time, I spent so much time, I learned how to play cards, and I do magic with cards. And I would go to the rooms where the kids could not go to the playroom because they were stuck in their room, and do magic trick for them in shows. And so I said, you do magic, come and be a part of our Hope Tank event and do some magic for the kids. If you have time, then volunteer. I have Ferrari kids that volunteer, that've been through the program, and come back and help out. I have donors who have kids that want to teach them. Like my kids are really privileged. Manny, can they hang out with some of your kids? And I'm like, absolutely yes. If you have treasure, of course, every nonprofit needs treasure. And then in connections, so you never know who is next to who. Antonio Daniels, former Spur, Danny Green's a good friend of mine. They both have done basketball camps for the kids because of one connection.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of like time, treasure, talent, connection. There's always room at the table to help and support. And Martin, I'm super grateful for all the love. Every time I have a poker event, it's like, I'm gonna sponsor a kid. Here you go. I'm buying a silent auction item, and it all adds up. And whether it's a big amount, little amount, it all adds up.
Well, it's funny. So the last poker event that he had, it was at SA Card House, and I had just sat down. I showed up late. I think I was with the client earlier that day. And then it was unlimited buy-in. So like the more times you bust, you can buy back into it.
Right.
So then I sit down and I'm like, all right, I'm all in very first time because I wanted to try to give as much. And then I think I busted like 4 times. So and then it's funny because like I don't know. So like God speaks through you, right? And I know we're all big believers. So I remember that time they had like a raffle ticket. I forgot how you could buy into it or so. I couldn't remember the logistics, but I was listening. I was like, I'm about to win that.
Yeah.
I was like, when I win it, I'm gonna get back half. So
Yeah.
pretty much, I covered my losses, but then I also like was able to donate back to the charity, which was amazing. But yeah, they have a real big group, and hopefully we can get a bigger group this year. I want to help put that together as well.
Yeah,
And bring
that's
all my friends and family to that.
yeah. I always it's so funny because it seems the people who give end up with, like, I'm always raffle prizes and stuff. You'd be surprised how many people are like Martin that are so generous. They buy a $500 worth of tickets or $1,000 in sign or whatever it's on all, and then they buy a couple raffle tickets, and these things are like $100 a piece, and then they end up winning it all back. And I'm like, he's like, you can't outgive God, man. And it happens
You can't.
all the time.
You said it perfect. You cannot outgive God. It's so insane that you're talking about stuff like that, because my father-in-law tells me all the time too. And I've been a firm believer of God for a long time, and I just see it happen time and time again. There was one time recently, me and my father-in-law, we entered this drawing, right? And one of my buddies, he's from Dallas. He comes over, he stays with us because he moved to Dallas, right? So he's staying with us for the weekend. I asked him to drop me off to go get one of my cars retinted. We're on the way to get my car retinted. Well, he's going to drop me off. He picked me up to bring me back to the house. He has a big old crack in his windshield, right? And of course, like he's kind of a high maintenance guy. So I'm like, man, I know that's bugging the crap out of him because it's bugging me, right? And I was like, hey, like, because he first showed it to me, it was a small crack. Obviously, it extended, right?
Sure.
And I was like, man, it grew pretty big. And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's a pain, but I don't really have the money to fix it right now, right? I'm like, yeah, no, I got you. He's like, I got quotes. One was 650, one was 900. And I was like, damn.
What kind of car was it?
It's just like a 2023 Nissan something,
Oh, shit.
but he went to the dealership and he went to another guy, yeah. So I called up my buddy who does windshields, and I got a quote from him, right? He told me it was gonna be $350. He said, I'll go to your house, I'll do it, right? I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna take care of it. She said, all right, right. So then of course came, and that's just a good gesture, right? That's because I am such a giving person. If I feel that if God gave me the opportunity to help, I'm gonna do it, right? 100%. So I did. And sure enough, I kid you not, I cannot make this up. The very next day, we got a call. We won $350.
Hell yeah.
Right.
That's
So me and my father-in-law won $700. So we split $350.
What was the squares for the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
but it's crazy because I didn't even pay attention to it. Like I was just like, oh. And then sure enough, they said, well, you want some money, whatever. So they dropped it off. Right. It was my brother-in-law's girlfriend's family.
Right.
They drop off an envelope and it says 700 on it. I'm like, I just spent $350 on this windshield. God just gave it right back.
Right back.
This is crazy, yeah. But it's crazy, right? It's crazy how it works like that. And you've done an incredible job of doing that, right? Because just hearing your story up to this point, God has blessed you with the opportunity to keep fighting, keep going, right? And you're doing an incredible job of changing so many lives. And just from the little amount of time that I've gotten to talk to you, you're inspiring the crap out of me.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But
You gotta dream big, right? And
yeah,
and you also you gotta hang out with the right people.
Mhm.
Like you're talking about Martin earlier. Like you hang out. I have a philosophy. 4 quarters is better than 100 pennies when it comes to friends.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So you'll see me hashtag 4 quarters. 4 quarters back because I live in a world where I have tons of friends, right? Facebook's maxed out, whatever. But who are my 4 quarters?
yeah.
Who's gonna? If I can call 2 in the morning, how many Joe? They're not in there.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not in there. Right? So you go deep in those relationships. But I can tell you on the giving part, what we were talking about is I've been in. This is kind of like when you're in your lane. Like when I started I didn't know anything about fundraising.
Mhm.
I didn't know how to, now we raised $250,000 in the night, but they didn't start that way, right?
Right.
And there was a point where when I did a shopping spree for a group of girls and Ken's TV got a hold of it, and then suddenly my website was just hit, like my kid's sick, my kid's sick, my kid's sick.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to get all this money. So I did the gala, and then I started taking care of so many kids, I ran out of money before my next gala. So I ended up going to the Ferrari Club, And there was a gentleman who bought my $10,000 table the year before. And I just went to him, and it was Robert Ober. And I just said, Mr. Ober, I'm in a mistake. I spent all the money from the gala, but I just didn't know how to run a charity.
For sure.
I couldn't. I'm like the Oprah. Everyone gets a car. I'm like everybody. If you're sick, you're coping with cancer, adversity, and now we take care of kids with autism, special needs, whatever. I'm gonna hook you up.
Right.
And I ran out, and he said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, what happened? I budgeted for 250, but we're over 300 kids right now, and we're gonna be out at 400 before the end of the year, and I don't know how to say no, and I didn't know how to really work a budget." And he goes, "What are your bills?" And at the time, they were about $9,000 a month.
Right.
And he goes, "How many months are you?" I said, "Well, the next gala is in 4 months." And he said, "Send me all your bills for the next 4 months. I'll pay them all to your next gala."
Oh,
And that's when the times when we all want to give up. Things are just so hard, and then you focus on solutions. You focus on a way, and then God just opens the door. That you'd never even. And that's when you're doing the right things in your lane.
Yeah.
And so. I can give you an example in my life, and we probably all can, on the times we just give because we want to, and we're passionate about it, and somehow it just comes back, tenfold to us in different ways, not always monetarily, but in different ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's incredible.
I'm really glad that that I got to meet you. The reason why is because I have been telling Martin that I've been wanting to get more involved in the community with just being able to give back a little more, and I have a lot of ideas in my head, and obviously we'll talk about them later, because I'd love to benefit to what you're doing too. My kid means everything to me, man, and the fact that you're doing what you're doing is just incredible. So, but yeah, I'd love to get involved, and obviously Martin's a big fan. He's been talking about you for a long time.
We're good friends. It's just we don't get to see each other as often as we want to, but that's sometimes good friends are like that because we're doing our work.
100%.
He's doing his work in the real estate community, serving people.
Yeah.
I'm doing my work in my niche, right? So when we do come together, it's like we pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
And the maturity of us in the business, we know that.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have time to hang out every week, and we don't have time to golf every week. Those aren't the things we do when we're high-level people doing high-level work, right? So when we do have the opportunity to come together, we just pick up where we left off, but we never lose sight of that friendship.
Absolutely. I think, and I can just see that you rubbed off Martin a lot, because in our brokerage, in our community, what we have going with our agents and everything, he helps out so much, and it like an incredible amount to where the point that he doesn't have to. You know what I mean? Like, he sells a lot of real estate. He makes a decent amount of money already, but he still continues to help. Why? Because he can, right? And he has the ability to. There's people in this world that get to that point, and then they forget that God gave them the opportunity to get there, and they're like, I don't got time for that. Martin makes time for that.
Yeah, he does make time for that, and I think that's the difference. That's maturity.
Yeah,
that's success. Is about me. Significance is about other people.
Yeah.
Legacy is what I'm going to leave behind, right? 100%. So you get to a point where success is empty, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is 100%. It's easy to be successful.
Yeah, it is to serve people. You want to make more. You're in real estate, and people are like, "What's the secret to success?" And you're in real estate. You sell a house, you deserve a commission. Go sell 10 houses today. My record's 12 in one day, right? Do I deserve 12 commissions? Yes. Right? I do.
No.
I served 12 people, right?
Gosh.
And by the way, it's not complicated. You want to tell you? I'll tell you how to make my first album.
Let me hear it.
Black and white flyer. A black and white flyer. There used to be a mortgage company called Mortgage and Trust, and so and now tons of mortgage companies they have zero down for veterans, zero closing costs, all that stuff, right? So I would get black and white flyers because that's all I could afford to do. I couldn't put a billboard up yet. I've had billboards, right?
Right.
People are like, why do you spend 10,000 a month on advertising? Because I make $100,000 a month.
For that,
Right.
yeah.
So I mean, but back then I started with a black and white, and then I went to all these apartment complexes. And back then it was Ray Ellison, now it's KW.
Right.
I mean KB,
KB.
and they would have these incredible stuff for brand new homeowners. Incredible, and then if you're a veteran and we had 5 bases here. Man, you get in for zero down,
Oh, yeah.
zero closing costs. I can get you in the house for less than you're paying rent.
Yeah.
So I put these black and white flyers together. I told my friends in high school, this was my senior year, the end of my senior year. Then I went to UTSA.
I forget you're still in high school.
Then I went to UTSA, got on my buddies and said, okay, we're gonna do 3 apartment complexes every night. But now, even back then, I don't think you can give them a commission because they're not licensed, but I would take them out to dinner.
Right. You take care of them.
So we do 300-400 flyers on the weekend. And I'd always get at least 2 calls. Call number 1. This is so-and-so, manager of this complex. You cannot put flyers on our door. I'm saying, I'm so sorry, man. I told them not to hit your complex.
There you go.
The next call would be, hey, I got a flyer on my door. I'm a veteran. It says something about zero closing costs, zero down. Can you tell me more about that program? And I would get call after call like that by hitting apartment complex. I'm telling you right now,
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet you a real estate agent today can go to apartment complexes, put stuff on your door, even though you're not supposed to, and make a sale.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then that turned to color flyers,
Right.
and that turned to a team of people that I actually paid to go deliver them on apartments.
Right.
And I made a specialty of first-time home buyers, especially in the VA.
Yeah.
And but so success was just about serving people.
That's it.
The more I served, the more money I made.
Yep.
But then suddenly you have a Ferrari, you have a nice house. I'm living in Inwood. I'm all these nice places, and then I'm like, well, what am I going to do that actually matters?
Yeah.
Like success is all about me, right?
Yeah.
But significance is about other people,
Yeah.
and you don't get nowhere on your own. Like there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire.
Right.
It's like I should write another book, Together Made, because it takes us all,
Ooh, I love that.
right? And then you like become the Martins. Like I don't have to do the things I do, but I love to do the things I do. I want to lift someone. I want to inspire someone. I want to bless someone,
Yeah.
and that's significance. That's an eternal feeling money can't buy.
100%.
And then later, as you build your empire, it's legacy. What do I leave? When I check out, what do I leave my children?
Right.
What do I leave my community?
Right.
I want my name to matter. Like my daughter got a job yesterday based on my name.
Mm-hmm.
No interview.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
That's
well, LeBron.
Bro.
Well, LeBron.
Yeah,
So I mean,
That's
now
huge.
her work ethic is
Yeah,
going
of
to
course.
keep
For
her
sure.
job.
For sure. Yeah.
But my name got endorsed, so I want to leave a legacy where my name's important. It matters, and I want the work to continue when I go. So
So it's funny you say that. So one of my good mentors, his name's Mark Harris. He one time I was having my very first coach session with him, and we're having an issue where I was super arrogant. He needed to humble me real quick, and I feel like sometimes the new people that you're going to meet will humble you more than the people that you've known for your entire life. And when he got to the point of like our coaching session, he said, "If you were to die today, what would people say about you?" And then I was like, "Oh, well, I was a great realtor. I took care of my clients, and just like all the BS that we shouldn't be worried about."
Right.
And he's all like, "Think about that. What about your family? What about your friends? What are they going to say? They're going to be sad, aren't they?" And I'm all like, "Well, yeah, they're going to be sad too." And he's all like, "Okay, well, think about it again and tell me exactly what you want people to say." So then I was like, okay, he was a loving husband, a great father. He was a great son. He took care of his family, he took care of his friends, and he cared about the community. He gave back to the community. And he turned to me and he said, "Be that person." And that was the defining moment of my life where I was all like, all right, I can't be selfish no more. I have to pave the way not only for me, but for my kids, for my family, for my friends, anybody that's connected with me. That's what I'm going to be geared towards.
And you know why that happened? Because you have friends in your life that will tell you the truth in love.
Yeah.
Right now, we have friends that we disagree with each other. We ain't friends no more. But if we're boys and you're a 4-quarter, I can say BS, Martin. You're all ego today. You can say BS, Manny.
Yeah.
I had that experience, right?
Yeah.
I used to talk, and part of it is because I came from nothing. So the first time I bought $1,000 pair of shoes, I let everybody know these shoes are $1,000.
Yeah.
This Armani was $1,500.
Yeah.
You know, so I would tell people what things cost, and my mother comes and says, "Honey, when you tell people what things cost, how does that benefit you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then my best friend Joe is right next to me because, yeah, man, because it seems really cocky when you just tell people what things are. And it's just about your ego.
Mhm.
And then my mother said something. She goes, "Honey, people who buy $1,000 shoes know what they cost when they see them.
Mm.
So if you're talking to somebody and you're having to tell them how they can't afford those shoes, all you're making it is it about you.
Mm.
But like if you wear a Louis Vuitton shirt and you see another person wear a Louis Vuitton shirt, well, you know approximately what it costs. You
Right.
don't have to tell each other.
Mm-mm.
But if you just see someone in a regular T-shirt and you're like, "Hey, look at my Louis Vuitton was 500," what is the purpose of that?
Yep.
So because I would lead with what things cost, or
Yeah.
lead with accomplishments, my resume, or lead with something that made me look incredible.
Mhm.
And then I had to flip the switch, and now I look at people and they all wear an invisible T-shirt and it says "Make me feel special."
Yeah.
Like let it be about you.
Yeah.
You know, there was a story about a gentleman who sat next to the Queen, and one was on the right and one was on the left. The guy in the right got interviewed and the guy on the left got interviewed, like, "Well, amazing, you ate with the Queen, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what incredible." And one guy said, what did you learn?" And one guy said, "Well, I told the Queen all about this, that, and all these accomplishments and all these things that I've done, blah 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 blah." And then the other guy was interviewed, and he said, "What did you talk about?" And he said, "Oh, the Queen told me how wonderful I was, and blah 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 blah." Two different men, two different experiences.
Yeah.
One wanted to talk about him and
Yeah.
learn nothing. The meaning the Queen
Yeah.
validates the other one and
Yeah.
makes it all about him.
Yeah.
So I've just learned that people are hurting and struggling and lost and broken.
Mhm.
And when you're successful, the last thing you want to do is lead with that, because
Yeah.
there's been an instant disconnect.
Smug,
Yeah.
arrogance.
Yeah, there's no purpose. It's just ego. And,
Yep.
and I want to die to my ego.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be about me.
Mhm.
I get very, like obviously we tell my story,
Mhm.
when we do podcasts and when I speak at my gala for people who don't know.
Yeah.
But I typically don't want a lot of stage time because I'm there to celebrate the kids.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, the heat I get the most when I'm at galas and events or where I have heavy hitter donors and stuff,
Mhm.
that I'm more focused on the kids than them.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's the reputation. That's the reputation because I'm there for
Yeah.
it.
That's
Yeah.
not. That's
We can
crazy.
chop it up another time, but they're the stars that
Yeah.
night. Not me, not the donors, not they are.
Yep.
You want to hear a pretty crazy untold story? And so when Manny puts together all these, because you were also doing scholarships for these kids, so he inspired me too. So there was one year we did a back to school event every single year. We were donating 500 backpacks to 5 different districts, and one year we're all like, "Hey, let's give away scholarships. I think that would be pretty cool." So we'll put together like a social media thing. They gotta give us an essay of why they deserve to have this
Right.
$500 scholarship, right? So we ended up picking 3 winners, and we actually had an event at Big. So I wanted to do events like Manny. I want to be like Manny, you know what I mean? And so we put together this big event, and I had all my past clients there, kind of very similar concept, and it was nothing, lavish or anything. People having burgers,
Yeah.
beers, just hanging out, right? So then, so we put a post out there, which normally we don't, but we were just super, like we were giving kudos to the kids that worked hard, got a good GPA, like put in the time, extracurriculars, like top of the class, etc. Right? And we wanted to award them, like reward them, and so we put it out there, and then one of the parents or one of the people was like, "It's very sad that you guys could have donated or given more money to these kids instead of paying for all that food and all those drinks for all those people." So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. So you do things from the greatness of your heart, but how many times do you also feel that people don't appreciate all the hard work or dedication that you put into it? And even though you're doing the absolute best and they're just trolling and just sitting out there doing nothing, how do you
So I have
about
a bunch of critics.
Yeah, I know. Everybody does.
And I'll tell you something. No one's ever erected a statue of a critic.
True.
So what happens is the more stuff you do, the more your poll rises. And the more your poll rises, the more exposure you have.
Exactly.
And when you're doing epic shit, people are always looking at what they're going to put holes in. When you do nothing, no one can see.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, but when you're rising to the top, everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
So right now, Manny has 12 Ferraris. He has a home in the Dominion. He's building $1 million garage. None of it is true.
Yeah.
None of it is
Yeah.
true. I mean, so there was a point when I was at the Ferrari dealership before I bought my Ferrari, and they let me use a car for the kids. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I need a car. I've got the kid. We take them to chemo, radiation. It's like a free Uber. We do a
Dang.
bunch of
That's
stuff.
cool, right?
Uber
In a Ferrari.
Right. So we say like they got to go
That's
to chemotherapy
incredible.
treatment stuff. We say the ride cancer sucks, but the ride to the hospital doesn't have to, right?
Right. No, for real.
Mr. Manny, I have surgery this Thursday. Can you take me to the hospital? Mr. Manny, I got chemotherapy. Yeah, so we use it like an Uber. So what happened before I bought my car, Ferrari would give me whatever they had on the lot. They give me keys to a white convertible California. 3 weeks later, I'd get a yellow 458. And then I'd call them and say, hey, I got a kid I got to do this for. They throw me the keys to a blue, whatever, specialty. So the rumor was,
You had all these cars.
man, he's raising money. He's buying all these cars. He's buying all these cars, and then Manny lives in the Dominion. First of all, I don't live in the Dominion.
You don't know where that
So
came
where's that
from,
come
right?
from?
No.
Like, I have lots of friends in the Dominion. I don't live in the Dominion, right? So I used to the young version of Manny would
Right.
bark.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, I got caught up one day on Facebook arguing to someone about they thought that every employee should be have like $15-20 an hour. We were talking about minimum wage, and I asked, and after this 4 or 5 6 hour debate, I'm all heated. I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, hey, by the way, what business do you own? He goes, oh no, I don't have a business. I'm like, I'm arguing with a guy who doesn't know what it is to meet payroll, doesn't know
None
what
of that.
it is to
Yep.
lease a building, doesn't know what it is to put marketing in, about minimum wage.
Yeah.
And he's acting like he's an owner and knows.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I just wasted so much time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know where I saw that. Maybe probably on social media. It just said, as you're rising to the top, if you stop to throw rocks at every dog that barks at you, you're never going to get to the top.
Exactly.
So sometimes maturity is not addressing rumors.
No.
It's kind of like in relationships. Sometimes maturity is knowing you're never going to receive an apology and being okay with
Oh
that,
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
and being okay with that. So I've just decided my work will speak for itself.
Yeah.
Go to all the watchdogs, Charity Navigator, Guide Star. I'm top rated.
Yep.
Let my work speak for themselves. When people come out to the gala and events and see it, and then they come out and actually go to Top Golf and see our superhero golf parties where the kids golf with Batman and Robin and Darth Vader and
So
and
cool,
we have
dude.
That's
let
crazy.
my work speak for
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
So I just, it's unfortunately we do have the trollers.
Yeah.
They always want to seem to chime in.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time to address them. I
Yeah.
just focus on the work.
Yeah.
And that's just maturity.
Yeah.
The young version of Manny wanted to kick everyone's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that to my face. Get off that computer.
That's exactly.
Now the newer version, I'm like, I'm half holy, half hood.
Dude, you gotta make a shirt like that. I promise I'll buy it.
Don't make that hood come out of me. right?
Only have
That's
shirts.
funny.
The maturity part of me says, hey
Yeah,
man, let it go.
I love
Focus
You have to.
and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Well, one of my mentors once told me, he's all like, if the world doesn't know that you're a fool, but once you, the world doesn't know you're a fool until you open your mouth, so don't give them a reason to think you're a fool.
Yeah. No.
So I was like, if you argue back, then yeah, you're gonna let everybody know exactly where you stand.
The world doesn't know that if you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Respond back.
Because those people, the critics, they don't really want to understand.
No.
Nah, they're just
They
trolling.
just want to
just
hurt
trolling,
you.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's kind of like They're the kind of people that they're like complainers in the world.
Yeah.
They have a problem for every solution you come up with.
Yep.
Like that's just who they are.
Dude.
You know, so I just don't want to be around that. And
Yeah.
and unfortunately, even in charity work, we have to do it.
100%.
No matter, I'm working with kids dying
Exactly.
on their deathbed, and they still have critics. Like
That's fucked up, right?
why'd you
That's
post that picture?
ridiculous, dude.
Why'd you post that
No
picture for
sense.
attention? Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, and that
That's the only reason why I did that. Yeah. I woke up this morning and I was like, you know
we lost
what?
the Ferrari kid. I needed attention.
Yeah, so
take
let me
this
post
track to
that.
give it- And I
Crazy,
know we
man.
posted it to pray for the family,
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
honor the child,
Mhm.
to remember the work that we do.
exactly.
And but I can't explain that to them because they don't want to listen to that.
No.
They don't
Yeah.
want to listen
No,
to
no.
understand. They just want to listen to respond to anything you want
Correct.
to say and have a
Mhm.
criticism.
And they want and people like that, they want to get the response out of you
Exactly.
that
They're
is
trying to pick
gonna
those buttons.
correct. They're trying to push those buttons. And they want you to respond in a way that's also gonna bring yourself down, right? Like you
Right.
said, throwing rocks at the dogs that are barking.
On the way to the top.
On the
you
way to the
never-
top.
You'll never stop throwing. You'll never.
You're never
You're
correct.
just never gonna arrive. So just know that no one's erected a statue of a critic, like
Yeah.
we said. So the more you do, the more you exposure you're gonna have. The more people who are doing nothing will talk about
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
And instead of looking in the mirror and reflecting
Yeah.
about their own insecurities, their own life, they'd rather just throw rocks. So let them. It's part of it.
Incredible, man. Incredible that you're able to keep that mindset because I mean and we talked about conquering adversity and being able to pivot when you need to. So earlier you mentioned something about pivoting when you had to. What year was it? You said
So that COVID 2020, we had to
COVID.
make. So we made a big pivot in 2020. A lot
Right.
of the nonprofits didn't survive 2020.
Right.
Now you got to understand, my events are big.
Mhm.
So we do let's take main event. We take kids to the furry dealership, so it's like a museum.
Mhm.
We assign their drivers. We go for a nice drive. They arrive at main event to a red carpet, paparazzi, 150 people. Now suddenly we can't do that. We go to
Can't.
La Cantera, have a shopping spree. We have 200 people there with signs greeting them.
you can't do
We
that.
can't do any of it. We
Jeez.
can't throw a birthday party. I can't throw a birthday party without 50 people. I mean, everything we do is big and epic.
Yeah.
So now I can't have a gala. So not only can we not have a gala, the year before was soft. So we go from a soft year to no gala at all. And I'm like, why nonprofits are closing their doors because they're thinking I can't have a gala. We have it's our number one fundraiser.
Mhm.
Most nonprofits, it's typically the number one fundraiser. They close their doors. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, what can I do?
Yeah.
How are you
You have to.
pivot?
What can I do? So we're just going to make things more intimate. We're going to do things for the family in a very intimate way. We're going to let them know, hey, normally, so I give the family the option. Normally, I'd have 100 people to greet your child
Yeah.
and with signs and stuff, but because of COVID, we can't. But I don't want to deny your child that experience. So we're going to limit this to family and friends. So if he wants to bring his best friend, and that's another thing, we include the siblings
Yeah.
we include the entire
Everybody.
family. The cancer didn't just hit
Impact
one
them.
person, It
Yeah.
affects the whole family.
100%.
So I put the kids' siblings in the Ferraris. We include the siblings in the fun. Every time we do something, we include into. And so say, hey, bring your best friend, and we can do these experiences as a family, or we can wait till this thing blows over, whenever it blows over.
Right,
we
right.
don't know, and do something. And they all said, no, let's do a small intimate event. So we started doing small intimate event. And then instead of the gala, I did something called a 30-day challenge where I would ask, let's say Martin or Rick, I would say, hey, listen, can you do a challenge, a 30-day challenge? It's called a Heroes Challenge, where you can raise as much as you can in your circle in the next 30 days. So you'll say, so it takes $500 to sponsor a kid for the year. So somebody will say, oh, I'll do a $500 challenge. I'll call 5 friends, give me $100. Or I'll do a $2,500 challenge. I'll call my circle of friends and raise $2,500. So I had all these people doing these challenges to raise what we would have in a gala.
That is
So
insane.
so if you, Rick, say, hey man, I'll take a 30-day challenge. I want to raise $1,000 in my little circle. I can get 10 friends and give $100. I'd set up a link. You send it to your social media friends. not just post it on your wall, but and say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm taking a heroes challenge for the furry kid. I'm trying to sponsor a boy and a girl. My goal's 1,000. Would you help me? And the challenges went up. So and so people would say, I'll do a 5,000, I'll do a 10,000, I'll do a 500. And when you add it all up, it's almost what we would have made at the gala. And we were able to pivot. So I kept thinking, okay, instead of what we can't do, which everybody was consumed with,
Correct.
we can't,
That's beautiful.
we can't. I'm like, what can we? What can we? We can make a small intimate event for the family.
Yeah.
We can do a heroes challenge, and people can do it on social, so no one even has to meet each other. You know, and so we just made these pivots in the market. And I think that's true of any business.
Yep,
You
100%.
sometimes you've got to pivot
Yeah.
depending. The interest rates are sky high,
Yep.
right?
How
They're
do we
dropping
pivot?
them. How do you pivot?
Yeah.
You know, how do you pivot? So that, because we're always focusing on
For
the
sure.
solution.
Yep. Mhm.
That's
and
beautiful.
It's crazy because, like you said, the whole like any business has to pivot at some point, right? No matter what it is. The COVID times was probably one of the craziest times where we could, like, there was a point where they were debating on if they were even going to let us show homes, right?
Right.
So we were either going to have to switch to just virtual showings or figure something out, right? A lot of people were also backing up on the point of like, hey, I'm not going to shop for homes right now. There's this crazy virus going around. I don't even want to be outside, right? So you're talking about pivoting. There were so many people and businesses that went down because of that. You chose not to do that. You chose to pivot, push forward, and keep fighting for these kids. And again, dude, God is working in mysterious ways, and He has you here for a reason. It's incredible to see what you're doing. It's very, very inspiring. It's amazing. Martin had told me today that he's like, man, I can't wait for you to hear this.
To hear, yeah, it's different.
I'm so grateful to be invited, but hard times reveal your character.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And during those hard times, you're either going to, it's kind of like sometimes the real estate market, it goes through a cleansing.
Yeah.
We're going to see who's committed and who's not
100%.
Yeah,
committed.
exactly.
You know, when like 3, 4, 5 years ago, everything's going $30,000-$40,000
Oh, yeah,
over.
yeah.
You listed, you got 18 offers in
Yeah,
2 hours.
yeah.
That's a fun, easy market.
That's a fun market.
Oh, it was a fun market. It was
Fun.
was.
Yeah.
But when it's not that market,
Right.
you know, are you obsessed to still serve
Yep.
and be committed, or are you just going to
you
say,
gonna-
you know, real estate ain't for me?
Correct.
And in the luxury market, everybody wants to be in the luxury market. They just think I'm going to go get my real estate license.
yeah,
and sell
selling
to
Sunday.
No.
They've been watching too much Selling Sunset, you know?
And I just saw Owning Manhattan with, you know,
Oh,
yeah.
you know, it's not as easy.
It's not.
as that. And when hard times come, like COVID or
Yeah.
interest rates, or
Yeah.
that, you just pivot or you bail out. And
Yep.
and actually, the people who bail out do the people, the professionals, a favor.
Exactly.
Yep.
They actually do us a favor.
Well,
So,
what would you, Martin? What would you say has helped you pivot through adversity through this entire thing, right? Like you've been an agent for a while now, so you've seen the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads. As a business owner, right? You can kind of piggyback off what he said. What has helped you, kind of pivot through everything, right? We saw interest rates go from they were in the 3s and the 2s.
Sure, I had one that was at 1.89.
Yes, exactly.
So I think the biggest points, like, there's always going to be distractions, no matter on whatever market. So when I got into real estate, we were just coming out of the recession,
Yeah.
the 2009 recession.
Yep.
And I didn't know, my foot from my ass, because it was just like that in real estate. Because I didn't get, I had some training, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
super well in depth.
Yeah.
Social media was not a thing
No.
just yet. But so one thing that when I was getting started, people had to be happy. They had to be happy about the experience, because when people were getting, like, at the time, it was like 6%, 7% rate, people were like mad that they were buying a house.
Yeah.
So you have to switch the narrative. And when I was going, so I think I was probably one of the first to actually have like a closing celebration for the people that were buying houses, because we were taking photos before. Nobody was really, like, you couldn't disclose because it, confidential,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah.
no, like, and I was like, hey, can I post this on my social
Can we
media?
do it? Yeah.
And I still have a photo of one of my very first closings. It's like right now on social media on Facebook, it's so blurry you can't even tell like it's me on it. But you know what I started seeing is that there's always going to be any type of distractions, like from politics to, you know, unfortunately the virus. You know, there's a ton of stuff that's happening right now. And then too, like what was it when Open Door and all these
Yeah.
iBuyers were coming up? That was another distraction. There's always going to be distractions.
Distraction.
So for me, the one thing that I did was I just put my head down and I just avoided all the noise.
Yeah.
And then when people were all like, "Oh, well, and this is happening, and this is how are you going to do it?" I was like, "Man, just keep doing your thing."
Yep.
Because a lot of times, though, like when people stop, you know, they're going to lose their momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was you made me think of so I got interviewed by Sabor and the big headline. I still have the papers, teenage realtor, and
That's
so,
nuts,
so
dude.
it was so funny because people asked how come I had so much success early, and I said well, like you just said, Martin, I put my head down
Mhm.
and I eliminated distractions because had I not done that, the other real estate people in the office that weren't doing anything and want to give you all the real estate advice.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Like
They know the
oh
most.
man, you can't sell houses during Christmas. You know, people are shopping.
Yeah.
So I got 12 listings during Christmas, but
Damn.
okay, so I was like, okay, people are shopping, and then the new year they're paying off their debt, and then you know spring break.
It's always something.
and
man.
in fact, and then summer they're gone.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, so there must be one day in October you can sell houses. It may not
gotta-
be listen to them. That's what
Yeah.
you think.
Yeah,
There's only
yeah.
one day you can sell houses. Meanwhile, I eliminated the distractions. I eliminated the noise.
Yeah.
I went out there and I put flyers on there in December, in January, in February, in March, and my phone rang
Exactly.
because you know always be
Y'all were still faxing contracts back then, right?
faxing contract. And Sabor,
It's
we had a book.
nuts, dude.
Just like the Yellow Pages, Sabor, we had a book. So we would look at MLS listings in a book that
No
probably were
way.
expired.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We just like a telephone book, we had an MLS book.
Yep.
And you would look at the book and say, oh, I want to see this house, but it probably sold or was expired 3 weeks earlier because you would get the book and it's not like, you know, they're up to date. They
Mhm.
have to go to print, then they got to be delivered.
Yeah.
So there was a time lapse there. Yeah, we used to have books.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
So when I was just getting started, like we were coming out of that
Yeah,
depression
that
period,
phase.
and so when I had gotten started, I had just gotten married. I don't know, you know, anything, but I became rookie of the year quickly, and
Mhm.
my competition, the average age group
Yeah.
back then when I got started was like 43,
Mm.
40 to 48, right?
You
So
were young, but
I was 21.
Yeah.
sheesh.
So I was 21 when I got started, and then I got rookie of the year, and I became the #1 selling agent in our brokerage within like 18 months.
That's incredible.
And it was funny because I had already outperformed everybody from the owners, the brokers, and all that stuff. I still wasn't making like money because, you know, the 60-40 split back in the day and all that other stuff. It was outrageous, no caps, nothing. So they're like, yeah, keep going.
Of course.
But the one thing that I ended up seeing is that they started seeing where I was going and they wanted to limit the growth.
For sure.
So you got to also keep
Yeah.
those distractions away, because I was getting to the point. I was just giving the story earlier today when I was interviewing an agent that she's about to get started. And I said, I was at the point I was working 80 hours a week, which I'm pretty sure you were working 80 hours a week when you were getting started, you know, not seeing the family, like not really knowing what you're doing. And it got to the point where I went to my supporter, my broker, and I said, hey, I'm drowning here. You like, granted, you get to golf every Tuesday and Thursday,
Right.
like, but I'm drowning here. I need help. Can you help me hire someone to take care of my paperwork? Because like I'm closing.
Dude, I can't even do anything.
Dude, at the time I was closing 7 transactions consistently, and this was back in 2014, 2015, and that was just for a single agent. And you know, I was accidentally becoming successful,
Yeah.
and I just needed some type of support. So then I said, hey, I need
A little
something.
bit of help.
He's like, Martin, you're not gonna need, like, you're never gonna be that person. So just like
Wow.
know where you're at.
That's insane.
Like this, know where you're at. And I was all like, all right, well, he's the broker, he's the owner, he must know what he's talking about. So then I go and I talk to my other mentor, the one that he asked me about, like, if you die today, like, where he's all, man, fuck that guy. Like, he's all like, he's limiting your beliefs, and he doesn't want you to grow because he wants to have you protected in
Yeah.
this little bubble, so that way you don't venture out and you take off.
Yeah.
Well, it took off, and then after I switched over, I ended up going to like a bigger shop,
Mhm.
and the one thing my mentor also told me is like, if you chase trophies, you're never going to get it, but if you chase helping people, the trophies and all the awards are going to come.
Yeah.
So then I was asked to be a part of one of San Antonio's publications. It's called Real Producer Magazine.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't pay for that. You get chosen to be
Yeah.
a part of it.
Mhm.
So when I was published in I think it was like 2021,
Yeah.
April magazine, I
Yeah.
took it to my old broker and said, "Hey, appreciate you believing in me."
Yeah.
But I don't say that story because I wanted to brag or like even throw some shade on it, but I said it because you have to eliminate those distractions no matter on what
Yeah.
you're going to overcome. And
Yeah.
sometimes there's the people that you look up to, the people you think that have your best intentions, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I say ability minus distractions equals results. When I do my coaching, I always say, you've got this ability.
Yeah.
If you can eliminate distractions, you can get the results.
Yeah.
But there's so many things competing for our attention and so many distractions. But what the shame is that you had a broker that wanted to limit your growth from a selfish point.
Yep.
Where I remember I had a shoe business. My brother was working in the shoe business, and he got an offer from a big Journeys or Crocs it was, and of course I wanted my brother to work with me forever. But I mean, I'm as high as there's gonna go. A little shoe business,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, take the opportunity.
Mhm.
It's like, for him, it was a once in a lifetime. He's going to be a GM and the regional and all this, and we were in retail then, and you got to have people. You got to have people that believe in you.
Yeah.
And even when I had agents working with me that wanted to venture out into different things outside real estate, whatever, you got to support people's
Oh, yeah.
visions.
100%, man.
And that's why it's so important, one, the four quarters, but also just in the environment in
Yep.
general
Yep.
of having people that will lift you and
Yep.
inspire you. They could challenge you, but I remember, I'll tell you something that was crazy. So back in the day, we had all these dreams, right? And goals. And one of my buddies said, I got the best idea on the planet. We're going to be super rich, Manny. I'm like, let's go,
Talk to me.
You already got
He
me.
goes, I need $50,000. You're going to be a lifetime partner, and we're going to make billions of dollars. I'm
Okay.
like, dude, let me hear it. It's these green crime fighting turtles. They live in a sewer. Their boss is a rat, and they eat nothing but pizza. Teenage Mutant Ninja
Teenage
Turtles.
Mutant Turtles.
You know what I said? You're out of your fucking mind. You know who else said that? Hasbro, the number one toy manufacturer in the country. And
Oh
now
my
we've seen the
gosh.
movies. We probably have the other ones.
That is
I had the
crazy.
underwears, man.
So you talk. It's
Wow.
stupid idea, not stupid idea. You got to surround yourself with people who believe in the beauty of your dreams. And if you have a work ethic to make it happen, man, the sky's the limit.
100%.
So I'm glad that you dream big, even when the people around you, like
Yeah.
that broker, did not.
Yeah.
And because that also teaches us the lesson how we want to be when
Mhm.
people approach
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
When you have an agent that says, I've got this big, hairy, audacious goal, how are you going to support that?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I love it.
I mean, we're coming up on almost I think almost 2 hours now.
No, an hour. Just an hour. We started at 1.
Okay.
Or an hour, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, but I did want to ask you. So, I mean, as far as like piggybacking off what you just talked about, right? I've learned in my life that as we get older, right? And my son's 2 years old now. It seems like time's going faster, and it's not slowing down. But I feel like as I'm growing with my business, my family, watching my son get older, I feel like there's a lot of distractions, even more distractions that have approached my life. I feel like eliminating those distractions, like you guys talked about, has helped so much because there's critics everywhere, right? And people are going to have their own opinions. And it's funny that you said that there's always a real estate agent that doesn't perform a lot, but they're telling you how to do your business. And you're like, why would I listen to you, right? So there's just so many things in life that you can just eliminate if you just stay the course and continue to. You hit so many great points today that you can just continue to climb and not worry about the distractions that helps you, right? So Martin also told me that you shared the stage with some pretty powerful people. Right.
Yeah, like I'll give you one, Zig Ziglar. So he did the forward to my first book, and um, he taught me how to eliminate distractions.
Yes.
What he said to me, Manny, is sometimes you have to say no to the good so you can say yes to the great.
Oof. Bars.
I can't just go to every networking event.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna have to miss some. When I was even with my kids, you know, when I'm like, I have it worked 80 hours, right? And there's nothing wrong with hard work, but there's smart work too. But I used to tell my daughters, like, okay, when we go to vacation, do you girls want to go to Disney or do you guys want to go to Kerrville?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's going to determine dad's work ethic. So we can go up to Kerrville. It's an hour up the street. There's nothing there, and have a little day trip. Or we can do some epic stuff at Disney. Well, Dad, I want Disney. So I can't make all 8 recitals.
Yeah.
I'm going to make 6 of them.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there, but I can't make them all, right?
Yeah.
I can't do everything.
Yeah.
That's if you want to go to Disney. So we had these little huddles, you know, family huddles, and so I wouldn't miss a birthday. I wouldn't miss something major, but like a dance recital, there'll be another one, right?
Yeah.
So, but I tried to make as many as I can. So I just wanted to eliminate distractions. And yeah, and I've shared the stage with Les Brown, Mark Victor.
He's my
Hansen.
favorite.
Les Brown's great.
Love that guy.
Mark Victor Hansen. I was published in Chicken Soup for the Surviving Soul. They took one of my stories and put it in their book. So I shared the stage with Noah. And Dr. Wayne, I just went blank, Dreyer.
Uh-huh.
So I've shared the stage with some. I've spoke for 30 years on some of the greatest stages on the world, and and I've always go in there just super grateful
Yeah.
to be there.
Yeah.
You know, that when I entered the speaking world, I remember when, Manny, you got to bump your fees to 5,000 an hour, 10,000 an hour. I'm like, no way, man, that's a big bump. You know, I was just so grateful, like getting paid $1,000, 2,000, 5,000. Then I finally went to 10 grand, and just supply and demand, right?
Yep.
So I remember this meeting planner called me and said, we're having an event in Florida. There's going to be 20,000 people there. We want to know what your fee is to do a keynote. It was the keynotes at the time were 45 minutes to 90 minutes. And I just said, like my coach had told me, yeah, I'm $10,000 for that event. And then I just was dead silent. I'm like, I can't believe that. Marbach, John Jay, $10,000 to speak.
Bro.
And they go, yeah, we'll book you for all 3 days.
Dang, dude, that's
Bro.
nuts,
And then I sold another 100 grand in books.
Let's go.
So I mean, so it was kind of, yeah. So, but it's because I said no to some good stuff so I can practice my craft of speaking. And it's not me speaking for an hour. It's me practicing for an hour.
Right.
It's the minute I leave my family at the front
Exactly.
door, to go to the airport, to fly 7 hours, to
Check in.
to check in,
right.
wait all day to speak and come back. So it's not this 1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour. No.
There's a lot that goes into that, right? But so say no to the good so you can say to the great.
Yep.
Because if not, you'll distract your life away. Your goals will just disappear because you wanted to always. My friend Lenny Walls, I support a lot of different nonprofits. He's got one. He's a retired NFL player, and we talk about this all the time because we teach young people about money. And people were spending $7,000 for Bad Bunny tickets.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
$7,000.
You did, right?
I just spent 7,000, but you're 100% right.
Someone spent 7,000 to make 100,000 and invest in themselves, right? Because sometimes we like cheap entertainment, like movies and little things that we do, instead of, man, I can
Here's the
live in
value.
the penthouse.
Yeah.
I could drive my dream car, be in my dream house if I'm willing to sacrifice some of the good.
Yeah.
So I could just say to the great and be intentional about my growth.
Yeah.
Those are the things that matter. Hang out with the people that matter. Not always the little Mickey Mouse events, but the bigger events where there's the bigger fish. I never want to be the big fish in the room. They say if you know the old saying is if you walk in the room, you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yep.
Right?
It's a dumb room.
That's the saying. I don't want to be that person.
Right.
I want to be the one that I'm learning from that room.
Yeah.
I'm because that's the room I want to be in, and I'm able to be in that room because I'm saying no to all these little rooms.
Right.
You know, where they're all talking about the weather.
Yeah.
You know what you know, this, that, the other.
Yeah.
I want to talk about possibilities and goals and
Yeah.
dreaming and venture capital and equity and kind of those things.
Yeah.
So
That's nuts, right?
yeah, and then the last thing I'll say, because you mentioned the Ferrari kid, is we do a couple fundraisers a year. Like we have a poker tournament
Yep.
coming up, Martin, that you participate in every year. We have a basketball tournament that coming up in October.
We're practicing. Just so you know,
Yeah.
we're practicing.
We are.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, you just gotta have fun. And then the big gala is in November. So if
Okay.
anybody wants any information about that, they could always reach out to me.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy. And then again, volunteer. We'll need volunteers for the gala.
Mhm.
We'll need volunteers for these things. So just always time, treasure, talent, or
I
connection.
love that.
Oh yeah.
You know, let's make something happen for these kids that are suffering because they deserve an
They
epic
do.
day.
100%. Man, you know, Manny, I appreciate you sharing all your knowledge. I feel like I owe you 20 grand for being here. I've shared so much, man, and it's been amazing. So anybody watching, right? If you guys want to volunteer or you want to get involved in any way, reach out to Manny. Manny, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So best way is the bat phone. It's super fun. That it's 210
Good.
210, right? 887-7285. So 210-887-7285. Like the Ferrari kid, just like the Karate Kid, the
Yeah.
Ferrari Kid
Yeah.
on social media,
Yeah.
or my personal, Manny
Facebook,
Diotte or Manuel
yeah.
Diotte on Facebook. But there's tons of way to reach me, and I'll take every call,
Yeah.
especially if it's got something to do with helping and
Absolutely.
blessing a kid.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and anybody that's watching, if you can't get a hold of him, and you want to reach out to me or Martin, we're more than happy to get you connected. I tell you what, I'm going to be involved, and I know a lot of people in my life that would love to be involved. So you got a huge fan here.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you just being here, man. Martin talked an insane amount
Yeah.
of good stuff about you. And I didn't know what I was in store for today,
Yep.
to be honest.
So you just got to experience it.
Dude,
Just like the audience, you're gonna have to experience
Yeah.
it firsthand because
Well, I appreciate you,
life-changing.
Mark, being
Yeah.
a good friend and raising the flag of the Ferrari Kid, and me personally,
Absolutely.
and Rick, for just an
Yeah.
honor to be on the show.
Yeah,
Anytime
man.
I get to talk about the Ferrari Kids, and because you never know if
Yeah.
a kid gets sponsored out of this,
100%.
it's always just
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, if anybody's watching this and you got any heart for this stuff or you have any questions about it, make sure to reach out. We'll link his number and his social medias in the description as well. Or you can reach out to myself, Martin. We'll
Yep.
be happy to get you involved. Manny, really incredible story. And God bless you, man. It's an insane progress that you have made from that kid that almost lost his life to sharing the experience that you had when you were a kid, like seeing that Ferrari and now turn it into real life. God put you here for a reason. You're doing the right thing. You're on the right path, man. God bless you. But anybody that's watching, man, thank you guys for tuning in today. We're continuing these podcasts to again keep it real and share some real value with you guys. And I hope you guys were able to gain something from this incredible story. But make sure you guys hit that notification bell, like and subscribe so you can keep up with every single week when we're dropping episodes. We got some crazy guests, as Manny's here today, so after this I got to pay him $10,000. No, I'm just saying. But again, Manny, appreciate you. Martin, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.